This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find the link to our playlist in the show notes. Welcome to episode 41. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guests today are Felicity Urquhart and Josh Cunningham. The two are probably better known for their respective side careers, but have joined forces for their new record, The Song Club. In today's episode, we're discussing exactly what Song Club is, songwriting as a task, and their upcoming tour. Here we go. Our guests today aren't usually paired together. One is an award-winning country superstar, while the other is 1/3 of award-winning Australian band, the Waifs. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Felicity Urquhart and Josh Cunningham. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are we both today?
Well, pretty chipper. It's a beautiful sunny morning and
A little bit of briskness in the air.
it's a sparkly morning. That's what we'll call it.
Whereabouts are you? Where are we speaking to you today?
Yeah, this is the Central Coast. This is actually my home and a nice part of the country, Central Coast of New South Wales, not far from Tuggerah and Gosford, in a little place called Kangi Angi.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. We're in Adelaide today, and it is just it's just cold. There's no nice. It's just brisk. Yeah. The new record, The Song Club, is out today, and the catalyst of the record actually came from a bit of a creative collective from sharing the same name. Are you able to tell us, I guess, a little bit more about that project?
Oh, absolutely. It was a stressful process for me. I don't know about you, Josh.
It got stressful in the end. Started out as very exciting. Bit of apprehension when Sam Hawksley, our friend from Nashville, he's an Aussie that lives over there, he dropped by and invited us to join this thing called Song Club, which is basically you get given a prompt once a week and you've got to turn in a song by Thursday midnight. And there was about 8 people in the group. And, so your week would go into chaos, or at least mine did anyway. So you try to find some inspiration and approach songwriting in a very different way than I ever had before.
It does almost kind of seem like it's, I guess, songwriting, sometimes the pressure can be good. You know, sometimes a bit of a kick in the butt can help in terms of churning stuff out. But sometimes, and I'm sure as both of you know, you're both very well-versed musicians in your own right, is that sometimes it takes a bit of time. When you first went in, was there a bit of extra judgment, I guess, on yourselves more than usual?
Yeah, totally. Probably more worried that submitting a brand new piece of work to colleagues that were in the club, and no one's judging, there's no score marks.
It's not a competition.
It's not a competition any way, shape or form. It's an individual right. And you have to submit at least a minute and a half, but most times we'd all finish a song because, you know, I feel that that's sort of part of the thing for us anyway, was finishing a song. And I remember that very first week, just the stress. And Josh, I still say it today, I think he was brown-nosing because the very first song came in straight off the bat, and it was Spare Parts, which was the first single that we released. And it was a killer lyrics, and I thought, great, this is where the standard is. It's right up there. So it really made me personally, and I think a lot of the others too, we all commented on that amazing song of Josh's, and just made you feel, I don't know, like you wanted to be up there with that sort of caliber, and it was really great.
Well, thank you, Felicity. I was actually very unsure. I didn't know whether I'd turned out anything that was worth turning in, but I did it quickly in the first couple of days of getting the prompt because I didn't want to sit around for a week just
like me,
being full of angst and anxiety about it. I'm just going to get this and then it's done. I don't have to think about it anymore.
I was going to say, Josh, was there any doping, if you will, in terms of, bringing songs in beforehand to utilise?
Oh,
no.
Bringing songs in beforehand.
That was all written.
Oh, no, written in the week. I mean, there might have been, songwriters have always got kind of ideas kicking around, whether it's a half-finished song or a line or a lyric or a little melody or something. And, occasionally it was a good way to kind of grab onto, the very beginnings of an idea that you might have had, and then if it connected in any way to the prompt, then you could flesh that out and turn it into a song. But, yeah, there wasn't really a... No doping.
Was the intention when you both went in, I guess, was there an album in mind, or was it organically that as you collected the songs, you were like, we could put together a record?
It was, I think, and that's part of the magic, that you just wrote for these prompts, and it was just whatever style came out too. It wasn't for any record. It was just this creative process that was really great, especially through the COVID year and lockdown. And I was homeschooling my girls at one point, and my head was just spinning, and I was juggling doing a radio show myself, and it was pretty intense. And at that time, I think once we came through the cloud, when we were, catching up for a cuppa, I think we thought maybe we could do some gigs together in between shows I've done, and when life gets back to normal and the Waifs touring isn't happening, maybe we could do a few shows. It came about from that process. We thought we should have something at the gigs to maybe sell. Like, let's do a recording. We've got a swag of songs.
Was there like a large surplus kind of, if once you got the machine, I guess, up and running in terms of writing those songs, once the group collective project kind of ended, did you find yourself keep writing songs? Have you continued to write songs together, or?
I haven't. I stuck it out for the whole year, so I just finished at Christmas time.
50-something songs?
Yeah, I haven't actually done the math, but it would be around 50 because we started at the beginning of the year. And I haven't even thought of writing a song since. The focus, I guess, at some point shifted from, okay, that's been a really intense season. I think I've written more songs in that year than I have in the previous 10 years. And now it's time to maybe revisit some and,
for a solo project. I think Josh should do.
Well, yeah, maybe down the track there'll be one of those, but I'm pretty excited about this project at the moment. But, yeah, it was just that transition from the mad writing season to, well, let's kind of revisit these songs and see what they can become on a record. So it was a nice little shift. And, yeah, the songwriting thing is, I've left that behind for the time being. Too much else to worry about.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of time. I haven't let him, Simon, because we had January, so there's Christmas, and then we're looking at gigs, plotting those, and we hit the studio straight before as school went back, end of January into Feb. So I remember the kids were getting ready for school, and while they were still home, they brought lunch up while we were recording into the studio, and it was really exciting. We were hearing how we were sounding together, and just thought, well, let's just pick the eyes out favourite songs that would suit a project of ours together. And we had collaborated a couple of songs here at home that also made the mix, and that's how it happened. And we engineered, produced it ourselves, played everything, and the trouble is now working out how to play all those instruments live.
How to take it into the live setting. I think Josh, you've probably earned that break from songwriting then. If you've got about 50 or so sitting there, I think you've definitely earned that break.
Yeah, to be honest, the whole what Fliss just said about trying to figure out how to present them in a live setting there's too much going on in my head in relation to that to even think about writing any new songs.
That's very fair, very, very fair. When you were whittling down the track list to decide what does make the record, I guess what was the criteria? What were you guys looking for in the collection of songs to make the record?
Well, I think particularly as the year progressed, Josh had this uncanny way of I'd contact him after he sent one in, and I'd think, they were my words. That's my story in that song. So he has that great ability of connecting human feelings into lyrics and speaking honestly, but very conversationally as well. Like it's not rocket science. It's just beautiful and lovely melodies. And so it's kind of like, well, that'd be a song I'd like to sing on. And it became very evident what would be the songs that we should do.
Yeah, and I think all of the songs on the album, we've done them as duets. They weren't necessarily written that way in the first place, but I guess any material that lent itself to that kind of approach is sort of how we selected and decided on what material would go on the album.
Well, I insisted that Josh sings on every song because that's not what people get to usually hear in the Waifs. Josh writes a stack of the Waifs songs, but they don't often get to hear him sing. So it was really great to... I think maybe occasionally I pushed you a bit in the studio to, come on, you got this, sing it out, let's do it.
I grew a whole lot as a result of this experience, Simon.
Is he being polite just now?
Very. No. I really appreciated it because, like Fliss says, it is a bit of a new world for me. And, anytime you can step out of your comfort zone and tackle something that you feel might be a little bit beyond your reach and, try and get to the mark, then you improve as a person and as a musician.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was going to ask, as you mentioned, you do write quite a lot of the music for the Waifs, and with the Waifs being fronted not by yourself, by the other two ladies, and then did you find it, I guess, more not difficult, but in terms of if you're writing for someone else previously and they're saying what they want to say, do you find it, I guess, a bit of not a hurdle, but something to work around when this is you and what you're wanting to say?
Not so much. And I think probably the real key to that question is in that, like, I never really wrote for Donna and Vicky. I never really wrote with them in mind. I would just write songs that were on my heart. And, then whatever ones lent themselves to, being Waifs songs, then we'd do. And quite often, especially in the early days, exclusively the girls would sing them. So, there's a song, a well-loved Waifs song called Gillian, which is about my mother. And, it probably seems a little bit odd, but Vicky has been the voice of that song for all these years. So she's singing these, quite personal lyrics that are coming from me, but she's sort of the conduit through which my songs were coming into the world. So, yeah, the songs have always just been my own personal expression. So there's nothing really different about this project as opposed to my history of writing songs in and for the Waifs.
Yeah, no, that's I can very much understand that. I guess that makes sense. When you guys did sit down, and it might be, as discussed, both celebrated artists in your own right, do you find that when you sit down to write a song, is it more of a lyrical thing that comes first, or is it more of a melody or musical kind of shape that takes place?
We've usually got an instrument in our hands. That tends to be the gateway or the beginning of, especially collaborating. It's been a guitar and a banjo or two banjos.
Yeah, I think specifically with the music that Fliss and I have written together, there's always been, we're sitting down with instruments and we're kind of working on something or just having fun playing music, and then something emerges from that. That's often a really, common way that it happens for me. But I have had over the years, there's no set kind of routine for it. It can happen at any time. And this was the interesting thing about Song Club, because you had to make it happen within a certain period of time. I normally just wait for inspiration to fall out of the sky, and I've had it happen. I remember one time the Waifs were flying into Nashville to record an album, and we had our collection of songs, and between the time that the announcement was made, we're starting our descent into Nashville, Tennessee, put your seat backs up and the tray table and buckle up. And I actually had an idea for a song. By the time the plane had landed, I had written the whole song, the melody and the chords and everything. I could hear it in my head.
It's a long taxi.
To the terminal.
I'm hoping that, so I can't remember, but that's almost showing off.
But the song ended up making it on that album. And, that's not a common occurrence. Like usually, you often labour over it from
I know why. Because you were closer to the sky. When
the
you said it
inspiration.
drops.
The inspiration didn't have us out of trouble.
I got to go for something, Simon.
Yeah, but sometimes it can be a lyric, an idea, but usually, you know, I'm noodling around on a guitar and I'll hear something, I'll stumble across it and go, oh, there's something
That's
there. And,
pretty, yeah.
And then what words, what mood does that conjure? And then you just kind of launch from that point.
This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door. Or pool. Or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Yeah, no, definitely. Felicity, if I see you at the airport, like going back and forth, we're going to know that there's a new album coming at some point.
That's right, exactly.
I'm very curious how the two of you met initially, because you do, you're both, I'll say it one more time and then I'll drop it. You are both celebrated musicians in your own right in Australia. But how did, I guess, you two meet and then that decision to do the album together?
Well, we met years ago when Josh was co-producing an album for Sarah Storer with Matt Fell, and that album was Silver Skies back in, how many years ago?
I need to get this answer ready to go because I can never remember. I'm terrible with time.
It was
2004, 5?
Something like that. There you go. Yeah, look that up exactly to be on the money. So I remember just saying, oh, g'day. Being a fan of the Waifs, I was quite struck by how lovely and, conversational that we just started chatting, and I thought, oh, he's such a nice fella. And I remember, having that impression and then getting to see you at gigs like Port Fairy Folk Festival, and I ran into Vicky and I was almost like stuck for words, being a bit in awe of Vicky, and she was just a darling, and watching the guys play, and then the Waifs had been to the Tamworth Festival a few times and getting to see them play, but we didn't really hang out.
Yeah, it was more just an occasional crossing of paths at usually festivals and just random events like that. So I do remember the very first time I saw Fliss, though. Vicky from the Waifs and I had been part of a theatre production in Tamworth at the festival. So we, and a midday show and an evening show, and then after we got done for the day, we actually went out to the pub to see the Pickers Night, which was a, who's who of anyone could get up. You never know who you're going to see. All the big stars are there, Casey and Troy and Felicity. So she jumped up and did a couple of songs, and that was one of the early, times I actually really remember being aware of her, and she certainly made an impression. I never said hello though, so I can't say that we actually met at that time, but that's my earliest living memory of Felicity Urquhart.
Now, Felicity, you are quite the last album that you had come out, Frozen Rabbit, was quite well celebrated. I think there was 5 Golden Guitar Awards.
Yes. Do you look at Josh? It was amazing. No, it was incredible, the reception that the album. Bless you, that was the dog. Stacey, awesome. It was really lovely, and straight off that, there was the year planned of a lot of gigs and festival appearances, and then COVID, so I couldn't even really get to see it do the next thing that I guess in my mind I thought, well, this is really great because now it's set up the year beautifully too. After the year that was, it was the year my album came out. It was the year I lost my husband to suicide. There was the yin and yang of that year was well, you couldn't write it, you wouldn't dream it up, that story. but it was my reality, and I had my 2 little girls to see through that, and the army of love of the industry came to our side, and I consider, and I told the girls this, and I still tell them today, that we are very, very lucky to have music in our lives that kept us afloat and got me back. And through music, I was able to go, I still have my voice, and I need music more than ever. And at one point, I didn't know if I'd ever do it again. So it became my lifeline, I guess.
I was going to ask for both of you whether you do find a lot of the musicians we've spoken to, especially in the last year of everything that's happened, if you find songwriting as a bit of a cathartic experience, and whether it be a good or bad emotion or whatever there is going on, whether you're able to kind of, Yeah,
definitely. I think that's one of the real kind of things about Song Club, was that it provided that opportunity. I think a lot of musicians, as you see, gigs starting to drop off, and then you start to get the real picture of, whoa, this is what we're in for. This is totally upending everything. I think a lot of people could and did really fall into a bit of a hole of depression, and lose your optimism, lose your spark. And so Song Club created that opportunity to keep the creative thing happening in the absence of being able to get out there and do it live. But the other great thing about it too was that it provided a chance to connect with people, with the other members of the Song Club. And even though it was all done through email, so we weren't physically in each other's presence, I still really had a strong sense of community out of that, and made some great friends that I still haven't physically met, some of them, but I consider them to be genuine friends as a result of my Song Club days.
You got to meet a couple in Sydney. The last live gig I remember before lockdown was Paddy Griffin. And it was Paddy.
That's the last one that we saw.
Yeah, that we met a lot of Sydney song clubbers and the fringes that came to that gig. It was like, oh, hi, this is, and that's, it was kind of this lovely social occasion for the clubbers, and through it as well, it's really exciting that a few of the artists that were in the same Song Club phase have released music from their experience as well, singles and album tracks that'll be coming out in the next 12 months. So it's pretty cool.
That's very exciting. Is it? We won't get you to out anyone. Would there be anyone that we do know?
Yes, I think Shane Nicholson talks about it, that he was part of the team as well, and.
Okay.
His current single.
And his current single, it was. So we saw the baby first.
Yeah, we heard the iPhone recording
first. That's the kind of cool thing I imagine about it, is that not only are you not forced, but there's that pressure to write, but you can also you've got that little community to bounce ideas off and chat with, and, seek feedback, or just, as you said, see the baby first.
Yeah, and go, what a great song. How, and wow, you floored me. Even those comments are enough to just
give you the encouragement to go on for the next week.
Yeah, and a pat on the back, and it and then you get off and think, oh my gosh, they've just written another killer song. Man, I got to work on my craft.
That's the other bit as well, I imagine. I know you said it's not a competition, but I imagine it kind of does spark like a little bit of friendly, not rivalry, but what's the word? You just want to be. You want the level.
I think it inspires you to rise to a level that you feel like you're worthy of being in the company of the other people that are there, because they're such great songwriters. Yeah. And I guess, it has the double edge of being a bit intimidating or, off-putting, but also it's really inspiring as well. And, all the comments, all the feedback, it wasn't like people were critiquing and going, oh, you really kind of could have gone somewhere better in the chorus or used this lyric, or why didn't you say that instead? It was all just very encouraging and warm, and felt very safe.
Yeah.
No, that's very cool. People like yourself and Shane and I'm not sure who else, but I imagine it would have been quite a caring and nurturing group. I would have been shocked if...
well, they're all creative. Simon, so we're all
sensitive,
heart on our sleeve, and most of the preamble before we ever got to the song and the lyrics, because you had to submit both audio and lyrics, and there'd be, oh, this week's been a bit tough, or the kids, those that have children, oh, one was sick, or blah, blah, we'd hear about each other's life as well, which was just really nice. You just felt
all the disclaimers as to why this song isn't really what I would have hoped it would be this week.
or it started somewhere else and it's ended up here.
Could we possibly see a bit of a song? Would there ever be a song club collective album, if that makes sense?
Wouldn't that be fun? Well, that goes that responsibility would go to Sam Hawksley, who is the man we hold responsible.
And song club daddy
for the Australian arm. But then he would probably go to Rachel in Nashville, who invited him. So, I mean, the mind boggles of how many songs over the last 3 years or thereabouts would be written from the song club. I mean, I'm not sure how many years Rachel in the States has been doing it. But
yeah, I'm not sure. And that was actually something else that struck me as we were doing it. I was thinking, even though this is quite a private, it's a little group that, these songs, for the moment at least, aren't really venturing out beyond that group. But it just felt like as we were churning out that, catalogue of songs week by week, it just felt like there was something very positive and beneficial about now the world has another 8 songs this week in it.
Yeah.
As a result of this little group of crazy people that are doing this thing. And then you stand back at the end of a year and think, well, 50-odd songs from 8 different, like there's hundreds of songs that the world now has. And I think that can only make it a better place, whether it ventures out beyond Song Club or even if it's just within the heart and soul of the people that wrote them and got to share them in that way.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about it like that, and that is quite an interesting thought to have. Yeah.
Me either. It's good with words, isn't he?
Yeah. See, this is why. Yeah, this makes sense. You both are taking the record on the road, I think, next month and a little bit of the month after.
Yeah, well, till the end of the year. We've just got things that keep coming in, Simon. It's great.
What are you both looking forward to about getting back to live shows?
Oh, just the buzz. It's a real adrenaline. We're adrenaline junkies, really, aren't we, artists? It's a funny thing because even through the COVID year, there was lots of performances online, lots of reaching out, connecting to community that way, but it did not rock my world at all. I worked out I'm very needy when it comes to playing and getting somebody, one person or 10 people, to tell me they liked it or that they felt something, connected, cried or whatever. It turns out I really feed off that, or I need it. And I've found I'm not alone in that as a performer. And so that's what I love about getting out there and telling our stories and playing music for people. And
Yeah, I think I actually just recently wrote a little post on my social media about this very thing in the context of the Waifs. Nearly 30 years of playing music together, and we've seen a lot of different changes in the way the world is. Like the advent of social media itself. I remember the mobile phones becoming a thing. And the internet and the way that those things have affected music, and then the whole streaming thing, and CDs used to be like you'd make an album and that was like a really valued piece of art that would form a major part of an artist's income, and now it's just this kind of giveaway, throwaway sort of tool that's just a promotional thing really. But through all that kind of change, the one thing that's remained the same, that bands like the Waifs, and I know for Fliss and I as well, but you can never replicate the live experience. No matter how technology or the world changes, people standing on a stage, people coming and sitting in the audience and sharing that connection, it's a beautiful collaborative thing that you can't really define, you can't replicate, and it will always have power. So I think getting back to that situation is something that we as artists have really been craving, and the few little gigs that we've done so far, you can see that the people have been craving that too. So it's just wonderful that, hopefully the shadows of the last little season we've been through are lifting and we're going to have that back.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think a number of people we've spoken to, while live streams and everything throughout COVID have been good in terms of keeping people entertained or, sane, there is a certain electricity almost to being at a live show. And I think, as you said, you can't replicate that at all.
Yeah. Electricity, that's the word. I like that.
What can people expect? I know you said you're still working out the mechanics of both of you not playing all the instruments yourself, but what can people, other than the one-man band trick, what can people expect from the live shows?
I have tried with a bit of percussion strapped to my legs at different times, but we've gone to more of the using my foot on some, tambourine action type of jig that Josh has set me up with. And then there's a couple of banjos and acoustic guitars, and we play all but every song off the album. And then, of course, there has to be a couple of Waifs tunes and a couple of my songs in the show. So
golden guitar-winning classics.
ARIA award-winning song. So, toured with Bob Dylan. So, we should throw a Bob Dylan.
Yeah, maybe we'll put a Bob Dylan cover.
We should do that too. So it's just really nice, and and an acoustic show, no doubt. It is definitely acoustic.
Yeah. And I'm still working. I know Fliss is talking up my whole, way with words. But one thing that I really love about what we do is Fliss. She's I always use the term a masterful communicator. She's very personable, and she walks on stage and there's a glow and a light and an endearing quality about her that people you see that everybody being drawn in. And I think part of my challenge, I stand there next to her, just getting totally drawn into it. So I feel like I'm just part of the crowd and I get lost in what she's saying. I need to get involved in this and talk too.
Oh, don't worry. I make sure that he tells the stories, because there's some great, all those years of touring and, the Bob Dylan side of things and all the great things that the Waifs have done. And they're part of the Aussie fabric, of the quilt of great bands and what is so unique about what they've been able to do is also keep that Australian sound, which I think is really important. We're not out there trying to whip off some international sound. It's very Australian based. Let's go with that.
Yeah, definitely. It for lack of a better word, the banter between the two of you in terms of careers and just even chatting now, it does seem like there is quite a lovely friendship behind it. So I imagine that on stage that does translate well as well.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah, we're hoping.
Yeah, it's all about just being yourself out there, Simon. I think that is what, I don't know, is what makes people feel that they can come up after gigs too and chat and tell us their stories, because, we're just normal people. That's just what we do for a job.
Masterfully communicated.
Lastly, we usually do ask our guests what they're currently listening to. Is there like a record or an album at the moment that either of you or both of you are listening to on repeat or just enjoying?
Am I able to say the Song Club? Because we're trying to learn the songs.
You can say that, and then I might say
you can say that. 100%.
You can totally say that, and I'm getting that spill off as well. But in the car, when the kids are in the car, they love listening to Bob Corbett and the Bob Corbett Band. They hail from Newcastle, and Bob was a former Starmaker winner. He's a great songwriter, and man, that album gets a workout. And if it's not Bob Corbett, it's Brad Butcher, who's another good mate that I've toured a lot with. Actually, we're going to do some shows with Brad in Queensland on this tour. So it's switched between those two and the Waifs. I mean, have you said one album, right?
No. Look, I understand. You can't just have a diet of one food. You have to have a few. So I definitely understand that.
Yeah, and it's all what the kids want, and I'm right on board. And they'll go, "Put Joshy on, Mum. Put Joshy on." So the Waifs get around a lot.
That's very cool. That's awesome. Felicity and Josh, thank you very much for your time today. I do appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Simon.
So
our pleasure.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Felicity Urquhart and Josh Cunningham for their time. Their new record, The Song Club, is out now. We've left links in the show notes to buy tickets to their show or listen to their music online. We also want to give a huge shout out to Stacey at Daydream Nation PR for helping out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of our guests' picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday and Friday morning, with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. That's what you'll feel with Boll & Branch's best-selling signature sheets in 100% organic cotton. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. Start getting your best night's sleep in sheets that get softer and softer for years to come. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee. Plus, get 15% off your first order at bollandbranch.com, code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.